Hello, 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 and welcome to Coffee with the Carter Man. There we go, right there. Got the sign all lit up. Wow, lots to talk about today, and it's a very, very special edition of America's number one political activist podcast because we have a special guest for the big interview. Um, but first of all, grab your beverage of choice. Here we go. How sweet it is. This is see that one there. My brother gave that to my wife when she got her American citizenship about a year ago. She is, as near as I can tell, she's America's only legal Honduran immigrant. Okay, so there we go. That my brother got that for her. Wow. Okay. Everybody knows the rules. Everybody knows the rules. We start off with a very short potpourri news and views, and we're going to get straight to our interview, our big guest. Today's interview, as I said, is very, very special because it is a guest we're bringing back by popular demand, America's number one political analyst and strategist, Bill Wilson. So those of you who remember last time Bill was on are saying, great, we're going to hear something intelligent on Coffee with the Carter Man instead of the Carter Man's babble. But first we got to do my babble. Then we're going to finish with predictions. First we got to do my babble. And today, and I'm going to make this short, but I just can't get over it. Today we're going to discuss the fact that Gustavo Petro, the Marxist president of Colombia, has learned the Trump FAFO doctrine the hard way. Fool around and find out. I cleaned that up, didn't I? Fool around and find out. Here are two great headlines here from The Hill. Okay, this was the first headline where The Hill, which is a radical left-wing publication, I know the publisher, was all thrilled because old Gus there said that he was not going to let the illegal aliens, or his migrants, as he called them, who invaded our country, he was not going to let them back in his country when Trump sent them back. And Trump said, okay, well, then we're going to put tariffs on everything you have and cut off all your aid, which, by the way, over the past, since 2017, we have given old Gustavo, the Marxist there, 1.7 billion dollars. Okay. So about 3 hours later, Gus says, hey, not only will I take them back, it's very important. I will welcome them. I will send my own airplane for them. A schmuck. It's the only word for this guy's a schmuck. By the way, I loved it when he said, when he was still playing the role, the macho role. They love that macho. When he said, the U.S. cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals. First of all, before any of you say, Carter, it's not right to imitate them, I can do it. There's my wife. Okay. I swear to God, that's my wife. I don't bring her on for real because I don't want her to get, I don't want some young rich guy to take her away from me. But everybody sees it says, well, that's a Rachel doll. So, and I have a home in Honduras. So I got to use my special accent for these people. So he said, cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals. Well, first of all, they are criminals. They broke the law when they invaded our country. That's the definition of a criminal. And by the way, if you do it again after you're sent back, it's a felony. So hey, Gustavo, he's true, they are criminals. And so, but you would think Gus would know criminals when he sees one. I'm going to finish up with this because Gus is a criminal. Gus was one of the leaders of M19, the terrorist group that operated throughout the 80s down there in Colombia, slaughtering people. And by the way, lest you think, well, they weren't criminals, really. Well, then why did Pablo Escobar give them $2 million to help in the siege of the Palace of Justice down there? It resulted in 100 deaths. But they like killing people. Gus did. Gus and his friends did. Because in February of 76, they kidnapped union leader Jose Raquel Mercado, who they then slaughtered and propped his body wrapped in plastic up against a lamppost in Bogota Park. Okay. And adding to Gus's knowledge of criminals, Gustavo's son, Nicholas, well, he's been indicted for money laundering for the drug cartels. So you would think of all the people down there where we're sending these invaders back to, you would think Gustavo Petro of Colombia would have known criminals when he saw them, instead of saying they're not criminals. They are criminals. And now he has fooled around and found out, hasn't he? All right. Now let's get to the important stuff here. All right. And I've been looking forward to this ever since Bill Wilson agreed to join us again. Bill Wilson and I have known each other for almost 50 years. Back when we were young guys at the National Right to Work Committee, I was in charge of PR. He was in charge of field development, going out into the hinterland, some dangerous spots, and confronting the union bosses and organizing people for right to work, helping pass right to work laws. He's a brilliant political strategist. He is a top Washington political operative. And we're going to talk about everything under the sun. Bill, welcome to Coffee with the Carter Man again.
Thanks for having me, Carter. Appreciate it.
Well, it is a pleasure. And I want to just go through the list. We're going to do this for next 30 or 40 minutes. Let me look at my clock. Okay, let's start with a lot of presidents have this thing of, the first 100 days, they did this, that, and the other. With Trump, let's talk about the first 100 hours.
Really?
It has been unbelievable. Give us your overview.
Oh, Lord. Well, I don't know that anybody could do an overview. The James Carville, strategist on the left, has defined it as accurately as anybody and just said that Trump has been, quote, flooding the zone. And he has been flooding the zone. And by definition, that isn't just hitting on one thing. It's been hitting on everything across the board. And the people that have been put in place, for the most part, are doing incredible work. So one of my favorite here, it got announced this morning that they were going to take 50 executives of the USAID operation, the foreign aid program, and they're suspended. Now, they weren't allowed to fire them because of the rules, but they were allowed to bar them from the building. Suspend them. You're gone. And the reason that this was done is that 2 Trump appointees watched this bunch and saw 2 or 3 of them undercutting the president's order to put a 90-day halt on foreign aid and foreign loans. Well, these characters were out there finagling and finding ways to do it. And, the whole middle school little girl crap that the bureaucrats live off of. And they found it. Well, as they pulled on the string, it wasn't 1 or 2 or 3. It was 50. And the White House he put it up the line, and the White House, in proper order, pushed him out the door and said, just get out. Now, I'm sure they're gonna sue. They're gonna have people challenged. They'll probably end up in court. But I got news for them. They're done. And even if they get back in 2 years, their desk will no longer have that beautiful view out the window. It'll be down in the basement next to the boilers. So,
or maybe in Butte, Montana.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that when I look at things like that, I just get all hopeful, if you will. But there are problems. I mean, there's some speed bumps coming up, and they're primarily in the Senate. And we're gonna have some serious battles with with the Senate, with
No,
the
Bill,
so-called Republican Senate.
there is a sinister seven cabal in the Senate who clearly want to destroy everything Trump wants to
It may be bigger than seven, Carter.
do.
Yeah, I mean,
Unbelievable.
there are quite a few. I mean, over the years, the Senate Republican caucus has been based on people that owed their allegiance to Mitch McConnell and the institutional money of the Republican Senatorial Committee, and then their various little pockets. And those people do not believe in America First. They do not believe in they do not believe in the realignment that Donald Trump is attempting to foster. And they are totally beholden to the old war industrial complex.
The
That's
military
it.
industrial complex.
Yeah.
And they are just Washington insiders.
Yeah.
Everything they do, everything these people do is to glorify themselves as Washington insiders and increase their take from the taxpayers.
Every time.
Every time. You can't get an honest word out of them. And then they get new people in, like, is it Curtis that took?
Oh, John Curtis. Yeah, from Utah. Democrat County Party chairman.
Now a Republican senator. And what
now he's a Republican senator. Yeah.
Very, very disappointed in this new senator from Indiana. Is it Day or Todd or something? It looks like he's just a total worm.
He's a bit of an establishment. That's Todd Young. The new one.
Todd Young.
Right. The new guy that just got elected in 24 is Jim Banks.
Right.
And Jim Banks isn't bad. He so far has been a good guy. He was a good guy in the House. But Todd Young is not anybody that you want to invite over to the House, I can assure you.
And you have Murkowski, who is just absolutely, I'm going to say it, there is nothing Donald Trump can do to appease that woman. She is just pure venom. She is bilious. And when can we get that woman out? Can we get that woman out?
Well, I would hope we could. So, but she only won last time because of that con game that they call ranked choice voting. And it is a manipulation of the vote that really is designed to eliminate strong feelings. It is only designed to let the establishment play the vote and rig the vote to their advantage by adding in second and third choices. And I mean, it's really a ridiculous, absurd thing. She won on ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is why Sarah Palin was not elected to the Congress in 2022.
Right.
Now, there was an effort in 24 to repeal it, but the repeal lost by a handful of votes. I mean, it was really close. And almost certainly that was the Murkowski team pulling those extra votes over, because she cannot win a straight up vote. It's not possible. She's hated in Alaska like she is throughout America. But if she can manipulate the vote through the ranked choice voting, the odds go with her.
When is she up again? When is she up again?
26 next year.
Next year. How old is that damn woman?
She's pretty old.
Got to be as old as Methuselah. I think her father appointed her, if I'm not mistaken. She failed the law bar exam 4 times, and yet there she is with that bilious mug opposing every move Trump makes. Everything.
Right. And she's got Susan Collins.
Yeah.
Out of Maine, same situation. And I think Susan is up in 26 as well. So that's a positive. And they'll say, oh, well, we need him to form the majority. And I would contend that a majority based on the type of people like Murkowski and Collins and Curtis is no majority at all.
No, no.
You holding out to the American people that you have a position and that you'll do something all along when you've got this poison pill inside. And
well,
that's the problem. So it isn't a majority.
It isn't a majority. No, it's not, because we can always, years ago in David Niven's autobiography, The Moon is a Balloon, Niven had lived with Errol Flynn, and who was the bad boy of Hollywood, and just you never knew what he was going to do. And Niven said, they're wrong about Errol. You can tell what he's going to do. You can always count on Errol to let you down. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where we are with these people.
That's right.
Collins is another one who has got to be fossilizing at this point. It doesn't stop. I mean, you and I are no spring chickens.
No, sir.
No, not by a long shot. But I think these two are as older than us, and they should not be in major policy positions, in my opinion.
But look at it. I mean, the whole thing is being run by Mitch McConnell, who's about to turn 83 in February. He clearly is in the early stages of some type of debilitating disease, because he freezes up, and it's actually kind of sad. He's had several trips and falls. Nothing serious, obviously, but still, he's the master, he's the guy pulling the strings. And you have to ask yourself, what in the name of God does this guy have looking out ahead to the future? The future for him is, can he make it to lunch? Right. And the idea of the future would be to have somebody in there who's invested in the quality of life for themselves and for their children.
Yes.
That's, to me, I never really thought much about the age element of it until I got older and looked back on it. And it really does not serve the American people well to have these geriatric old clowns shuffling around, deciding what happens for everybody else.
Yeah, and you nailed it about looking to the future. Mitch McConnell and his wife, the communist spy, they have no children. So they obviously then have no grandchildren. So there's nothing in their life that makes them forward thinking and makes him say, where's my country going to be in 10 years? He doesn't care, because he's going to be in Forest Lawn in 10 years.
Oh, yeah. In 10 years, at 93, Mitch McConnell, if he is still even remotely upright, will be, getting his meals through a straw. I mean, there's just nothing there.
There's nothing there. And we saw with Biden the dementia anger factor we saw with Biden. Now, I was
get off my yard. Yeah.
Get off my lawn. I was talking to someone today and said, with Biden, you and I worked either with or around Biden for many years, 50 years. I mean,
right.
The whole time he was there. Throughout my time working with him in the Senate, I can tell you he was an amiable idiot. That was it. Yeah. An amiable idiot who didn't seem to really believe in anything except what was going to pad his pocket. He got into the presidency at this advanced stage and became a really angry, bitter old man who was just seemed to operate purely on vitriol. What do you think?
I think so. There's a great piece out, and I believe I read it in Compact Magazine, called The Simulation President. And that's what he was. He was a simulation. He never made any decisions. Nobody ever believed he did. Maybe at some point we'll figure out who was actually pulling the lever.
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't one person. It wasn't Barack Obama. That's too much work for Barack. But there were plenty of people a small cadre of people that were the president. And Joe Biden's function was to be the face. He was to be the simulation of their presidency. And to a large degree, that's what Kamala Harris would have been. Nobody believes she was smart enough to do the job. She doesn't like to work long hours.
Or sober enough.
Or sober enough. There are the appearances, yes. But she would be the face of a machine that was truly then the government and that nobody votes for that. People don't know who the hell they are.
No.
But they're the ones that actually run things and dictate your life. Well, that is what I think Biden was. I think that simulation is what I hope and pray Trump is out to expose and crush.
Right.
And I think we're going to see that.
Right.
This cabal of people who sit in these permanent positions wield unbelievable power over our daily lives and are never accountable for a damn thing.
Never accountable. And Bill, I want to, all right, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat. Okay.
Okay. Well-worn tinfoil hat.
A well-worn tinfoil hat. I think Trump last time around was a shock to the system of the deep state controllers, because I want people to stop and think for a second. And you really alluded to it. Think of the last 4 presidents other than Trump. You had Biden, who, as you've said, he was an automaton. Somebody was doing this with him. He was a marionette.
That's right.
Obama cared about one thing, and that was looking cool. Think about it. There's nothing there. He was a nowhere man, but he looked cool. And he did.
Well, but I would caveat that Barack Obama understands and understood power.
Right.
And his goal was to amass it and put it in the hands of the automatrons, the simulators.
Yes.
And that's what he did, is he empowered the simulators.
He empowered the simulators. Okay, Bill Clinton. Okay, first Bush. George W. Bush was too damn stupid to tie his shoelaces. And yet, as president, he made these major decisions. Bush, I'm convinced George W. Bush did not make the decision to wage war on Saddam Hussein. It was Dick Cheney, who definitely is part of the cabal that controls things.
Yeah, that whole group of people. I agree with that.
Yeah, and that's why his daughter's so bitter right now that she couldn't control things. And then you had Clinton, who Bill Clinton was an amiable skirt chaser. That was pretty much his whole life, and he liked it that way.
He still does. Yeah.
And he doesn't chase them as fast anymore, but he still tries. But so there you have the last 4 of the last 5 presidents who really, somebody, something, some group was pulling the strings. I think it was the CIA. What do you think?
I think the CIA are the enforcers. I think they're the button men for the mob. But who are the bosses of the mob? And I think if you look hard and long, you're going to find that those bosses are global in nature. They have one goal: power and money. And they're headquartered in the banks, the big banks in the Federal Reserve System around the world. And they're faceless. I think the big part of them just met in Davos, in Switzerland. And it are people that exercise power. So if you look at where these people go, John Brennan, who God willing will yet see the inside of a prison cell, didn't do it. But these people are ending up in major globalist organizations like the Atlantic Council or they end up on Council on Foreign Relations and the
Yep.
Foreign Affairs magazines. And they're on, these major think tanks based in Europe. That's who's controlling and directing the CIA. And the CIA, FBI, and all the rest of it do what they're told. I mean, it's great that Trump has taken away the security clearances for the 51 who signed the letter saying to undercut the Hunter Biden laptop in 2020. They shouldn't.
Yep.
But nobody has bothered to really focus on the fact how you could get 51 people as well credentialed and educated as that 51 are. How could you get them in the space of a week to sign such a piece of garbage?
Garbage. Total lie.
How did that happen? Who picked up the phone and said, you do it? And they just do it.
And they did it. And they did it.
And it's that process that intrigues me. The fact that the 51 signed it, we know their history. We know who they are.
Yep.
Michael Hayden and, the Brennan and Clapper and that whole scam bunch. But somebody got that together in literally less than a week. How the hell do you do that? Unless there's a central command. There has to be a central command.
There's got to be a central command. And that, let me say parenthetically here, one of them was Bash. I can't remember his first name. He's like the former assistant director of the CIA, right?
Right.
Bash. If folks, if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because if you make the mistake of watching CNN, you will see Dana Bash give her brain dead news reports on there. I think she's their anchor, right?
Right.
Bill, I want to say something here. Talk about CIA control. I have two past wives, right? Former wives. Neither one has kept my name after the divorce. They couldn't wait to get rid of it. Dana Bash still has the name of the husband she divorced in 2009, and she's been married since to another man, John King.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? It tells you that what she gets was Bash's CIA handouts, and she sits there and reads them.
Yeah, and right? I think, one of the things that's interesting is, and where we are today and why we even have this opportunity to make moves here is the awareness, the growing awareness that mainstream or corporate media is nothing more than a government mouthpiece.
That's it.
So that a while back, a German editor of one of their major publications, and I apologize, he's dead, so I won't offend him too much, but he wrote a book called Prostitutes. And it was his story of how the CIA had manipulated European media. He was unable to get that book translated into English. It took almost 15 years to get that thing translated into English. And then you had a hard time as hell to find a copy of it. But it's out there, and it's very detailed, listed name. I mean, this guy pulled no punches. It was pretty good. But now you look, we now know a lot more about Project Mockingjay, which was the overt effort by the CIA to subvert and control media outlets in the United States and throughout the West.
Yep.
And so now you see these other relationships. Why should I believe a word of it? And I think increasingly the American people aren't believing it, and that's why they're dying. Every day I read a story that CNN fires 300, NBC is going to fire this, Washington Post fires that. It's just a beautiful day. Fire them all.
Day. How about we just saw this guy going from CNN?
Oh, Acosta.
Acosta, weeping. He's gone. First, they say, well, now come on, Carter. He wasn't fired. He quit. Yeah, after they said, Bob, we decided to assign you to the midnight shift. I mean,
Right.
that's the midnight. We're going to give you your show at midnight. So that's, and thank God, you're right. That's the way it's going. And we're going to see
Yeah,
more
I
and more.
mean, and they killed themselves. I mean, that's the thing that's so interesting and so encouraging. Just throw your mind back 4 or 5 years ago, and they were still holding on with the American public, and they were saying the most outrageous, outlandish things,
Yeah.
and they didn't care. They
No.
controlled the narrative. They
Yeah.
controlled what people thought. And then, but the problem was, what'd they do? They sold us Joe Biden. They gave Joe Biden as their simulator president, and all the king's horses and all the king's men could not make Joe Biden look human again. And he just looked dead.
He was gone.
He was gone.
But they
And
provided
that's what
total
opened
cover.
up millions of eyes.
And they provided total cover, Bill. Total cover for the man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it, Fox as well.
Fox was no better. No better.
I'll know that we have finally rid ourselves of the whole lickspittle media, mainstream media complex when Brett Baier is gone. Brett Baier, it just absolutely.
He's pretty bad.
Anytime they needed water carried against Trump or for Biden, Brett Baier was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And so, again, the idea there is no opposition media. There is no mainstream corporate media that gives an alternative view to them. Okay. They were all about covering the fires in California until local activists and then Trump followed here. He didn't lead, but local activists pointed out that the reservoirs were empty. The one in Pacific Palisades was actually shut down for 2 years. They weren't allowing the water to come in. In one of the heaviest rains seasons on record, they diverted untold amount of water into the Pacific Ocean while Southern California was drying up.
Yep.
The San Fernando Valley is one of the most fertile areas in the world. It used to feed the United States and provided export. It doesn't anymore because it doesn't get the water. And as a result, family farms have gone by, thousands of farm workers, nothing to do.
Nothing to do.
All of it for what, a bogus lie of an environmental problem that isn't real.
Let the forest turn into tinder, dry up and turn into tinder.
Yeah.
And you're right. The alternative media, and we need to point that out. Thank God the alternative media is what is driving the mainstream media out of business. People are watching the podcast of the alternative media over and over again because
they're looking. They have the option to find news in multiple other places. And then if they get something that sounds crazy, they can check it out and find out it's not so crazy. But in point of fact, and I love this, Newsom, the governor of California, his first reaction when Trump hit him about the water from the Northwest and Canada said, it can't be done. It isn't just the snail darter. It isn't just the environmental concerns. It's a technical problem. In 65 hours, on Trump's order, the amount of water flowing into Southern California has more than doubled. 65 hours.
65
and
hours.
less than 3 full days, the amount of water is more than doubled. By the end of within the next week or so, it's going to double again. in which case there's going to be water for irrigation of the San Joaquin Valley. They're going to have enough water to put out the fires, fill the reservoirs, and start the revegetation of Southern California. And it literally 3 days.
3 days. Well, do you think, I mean, you are an astute political analyst. Do you think that this catastrophe out there in California, conflagration, do you think it's going to end Newsom's career, or is the mainstream media going to find a way to completely cover?
No, I think Newsom himself as an individual is irreparably harmed. The question is not Newsom. Nobody cares about Gavin Newsom. Again, remember, the system is a life unto itself. They're perfectly willing to throw anybody overboard.
Right.
They threw Joe Biden overboard. Right. They don't care. The person, the individual is irrelevant to them. It's a face. What is important is the system and the structure and the network of power. That's what cannot be disrupted. And so Gavin will be kicked to the side of the road like an empty beer can.
Good.
But the power structure in California is the thing that is in danger here for them, God willing. Because suddenly they have been lied to, and we're going to protect the snail darter, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And Trump, just being the semi-autistic kid, stands up and says, bull, it's a bogus lie. We don't care about some little fish. We're going to give water to the people.
Yeah.
Well, once that water starts flowing and they start to get the benefits of it, how are you going to take it back?
Yeah.
I don't think you are.
No, I don't think you are. But here's what frightens me, Bill. The people of California, first of all, they elected Newsom, who is a transparent lizard man, but maybe in some ways even worse, they just overwhelmingly elected the absolutely repulsive and repugnant, now his name, I think my mind wiped out his name the bug eye.
Oh, Schiff?
Adam Schiff.
Adam Schiff?
Bill, how could they look at that? And the guy he ran against was a Hall of Fame baseball hero.
Right.
Steve Garvey. I don't get it. I don't get it.
You know, there is enough of California. I mean, and look, nothing happens as quickly as you want it to. Nothing happens fast. It just doesn't. It takes time. Adam Schiff, much of Adam Schiff's former congressional district,
right,
is now gone. It's burnt to the ground. Wow. Nothing there. He's going to have to explain it. He's going to have to justify why the water was not allowed to come in. He's the one that's going to have to go to his green Nazis and explain to them why he can't reimpose their ridiculous rules.
Right. Good.
Okay. And so politically, he's got trouble, you know, and it takes the issue of time is so important here. And this is a quote that I've kept around for a while because it's so telling. It was written in 1815 by the former President John Adams to the former President Thomas Jefferson. And during their political lives, they'd been enemies, but after they left the White House and went back, they became really thoughtful and men who exchanged correspondence, and they became friends. And Adams writes to Jefferson in 1815, and think about it. What do we mean by revolution? The war? That was no part of the revolution. It was only an effect and consequence of it. The revolution was in the minds of the people. And this was effected from 1760 until 1775 in the course of 15 years before one drop of blood was shed at Lexington.
15 years.
Right. And so that concept that the revolution, what we think of as guns and Lexington and Concord and all the rest, that wasn't the revolution. That was a consequence of the revolution. The revolution was in the minds of people who came to see the existing order as tyrannical and unacceptable. I contend that that seed has been solidly planted into the minds of the people of California. How it takes care, how it manifests itself 5, 10, 15 years from now, I don't know. But what I do know is that we'll never be going back. They now understand that the environmental Nazi crap is a lie.
Yeah.
And that all it does is hurt people. Period.
Yeah. Heard him.
And that there are very quick, effective solutions to it. And that once that idea is put in their minds, I don't care. Gavin Newsom can do his jiggly dance all he wants. He's not going to get it out. It's there. Absolutely. And Bug Eye can gripe and groan and do everything he wants to do, and it won't make any difference. And that cackling harpy that keeps pretending she can run again for president, that's not going to do any good.
And who says,
have fun. It won't matter.
And but I think she may get elected governor of California. I mean,
I don't think so.
You don't think?
I think that the odds are greater. I don't see her winning the primary. I'll be honest.
You what?
I don't see her winning the primary.
Wow.
Wow,
what a fall from grace.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, come on. She was elected mayor of San Francisco because Willie Brown pushed her. Willie Brown was a political organizing savant.
Yes.
And he pushed his mistress into San Francisco. And from there, he pushed her into the AG's office.
Yes.
And then at a point when just having a D after your name was the only thing that mattered, they manipulated to get her the nomination. So she went to the United States Senate, where everybody who worked with her will tell you confidentially what a total joke she was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then we get down to JoJo the Laughing Clown, and he desperately wants to be president. And the Democratic Party desperately wants an alternative to Bernie Sanders. And so they agree that it can be Joe Biden. But how do they get him the nomination? Well, next up, South Carolina. Who controls the Democratic Party in South Carolina? Jim Clyburn.
Jim Clyburn. Yep.
And all Biden had to do was pledge to Jim Clyburn that his pick for VP would be African American.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in order to get other people, parts of the Democrat coalition in line, he swore it would be a woman. Okay, so now he's on record. It's going to be a black woman is going to be my VP pick. And he started looking around at the range of possibles.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris was the best there was.
Well, I think he looked at Michelle Obama first. And I think she'd never play second fiddle to him. No
way.
And I really do not think they keep saying, well, she'll run for president. I don't think Michelle Obama has any interest in being president of the United States.
Not now.
Not now. She's got 3 mansions. She lives like a queen, and she's lazy.
Well, how old will she be in 28? I don't know.
28. I would say she'd just be in her mid 60s.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Then also, don't forget, Biden considered the mayor, the Marxist communist
Yeah, Karen
mayor of
Bass.
San Francisco. Gas. The
Yeah.
woman, the woman who is a member of the Vince Ramos Brigade in Cuba. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't get worse than that. You cannot get worse than what this woman was, on top of the ignorance. By the way, I don't think, you say that they say Jill Biden hated Kamala Harris because she got rid of Joe. I don't think it's true. I do not think Kamala Harris had, I think she had almost nothing to do with moving Biden aside. I don't think she was smart enough to be that Machiavellian. I just don't. What do you think?
Yeah, she's pretty rough. I mean, I think Joe Biden is the reason. I mean, let's face it. There's a lot of speculation that Biden was set up for that early debate with Trump for the sole purpose of getting him out, to making him look bad.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
There is a lot of evidence that points in that direction. And he hells out for 2 weeks after that horrible showing.
Right.
Won't do it. And then he finally gets the call on a Sunday. And that Sunday night, he announces, "You win, I'm out." And several hours later, he does something else. He gives his full endorsement to Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
They did not plan on that.
Exactly.
The next day, Obama released a statement praising Joe for stepping aside, didn't even mention Harris, let alone endorse her.
Yep.
They were angry.
Yes, they were.
I believe the Jill Biden middle finger to the Democratic Party was to get JoJo to endorse Harris.
Yeah, I do too.
Knowing that she couldn't win.
Yeah. And I think the one they had set up to move in was Gavin Newsom. I think
it was Gavin was the one I think they'd settled on.
Yeah, I believe that. And I further think, and all right, I'm going to go out on a limb here, but you're the political expert, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think Gavin was one of the ones who helped undermine the Dago up in folks, I'm Italian, I can say that, up in New York, Cuomo. I think he helped engineer the downfall because it was totally contrived.
It was contrived. I don't know about his involvement. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the whole thing is pretty cutthroat.
Yeah. And Cuomo was really presidential material as far as the Democrats were concerned. Until all of a sudden,
he's almost MAGA now, isn't he?
He's what?
He's almost MAGA now.
He's almost MAGA now. But I want you to think about it. This was an Italian who pinched a woman's cheek and told her, "Hey, you're looking nice today." Every relative my mother has done that, right? to men and women. So yeah, it was contrived. Maybe it wasn't Gavin, but it sure worked to Gavin's benefit.
Sure. And look, I mean, Gavin was part of the Nancy Pelosi Maryland mafia. I mean, never forget, and I've said it before on your shows and things, never forget Nancy Pelosi's name is Nancy D'Alessandro. She was part of the Maryland mafia. Her father was so questionable that the Kennedy White House wouldn't let him in. Right. There's an FBI file that was handed to the Kennedy people, and they said, "Don't let this guy near you." And,
he was total mafioso. And then, if you recall, and I think this is fun for people when they hear some of the background, her brother, Tommy Jr., then became mayor of Baltimore, right? Because the mafia said, okay, it'll be Tommy Jr. now. Tommy Jr. had one goal, ambition in life. And that was, as we used to say in Baltimore, you'll remember this, "Hey, let's go down the Ocean City." That was his life. But he's told, "No, this time you become mayor." He quit. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And when they asked him, what'd you say?
I said, to some degree, I give him more. I mean, I have more respect for him because he just, I ain't doing this shit,
Right. Oh, that's exactly what he said. He held a press conference. He announced, I'm quitting. And they pressed, why? I said, I'll tell you why. I want you to think about this. Every day I sit here, get behind my desk, that door opens behind you, and somebody walks in with a huge silver platter full of SHIT, right? And then I have to spend the day eating that, and I got tired of eating shit. And he quit. I mean, that was it.
Yeah.
That was Nancy Pelosi's brother, who had been appointed by the mafia to become the mayor of Baltimore.
Yeah. I mean, but like I said, I mean, Nancy, the whole thing there, Gavin is part of that world. And that, I mean, somebody take a look at Pelosi's top lieutenants. They were Steny Hoyer, and they were other people from Maryland that were all part of the cabal.
Part of the cabal.
All right. Her top lieutenants. And now, of course, they're all so long in the tooth now they trip. But it's I mean, it's all that part, that world is gone.
Yes.
And thank God, couldn't go fast enough. But yeah, I mean, they were a force and a power that lasted for 50 years.
Lasted for 50 years. All right, we're getting close on time now. So I want to do like maybe a rapid fire, rapid round here. How about what is going to become of this guy now? Okay, there our boy Zelensky is counting some of his $200 billion Biden handed him for a proxy war.
You threw me because you had him in a tie.
Yeah.
I think he's investigating the quickest routes to Argentina is what I think. He's done.
Yeah,
he's done. The army is collapsing around him. The Russians are grinding up turf in the east, capturing key towns and positions. There is no, he's done. He's done.
He's done. What is the peace settlement going to be? What kind of?
They're going to draw a line. The eastern provinces that have the places that have voted to join the Russian Federation, I believe are going to become part of the Russian Federation. That they'll have a demilitarized zone in between that section and the western part of Ukraine. And that's got to be the beginning. But the position of Russia that Ukraine cannot be part of NATO, the original deal that the United States under James Baker agreed to, that's got to be honored.
Got to be honored.
Or else it isn't going to stop. He's just going to keep grinding them up. And the reason is, come on, let's face it. The Germans beat their chest and the French, and they're punks. If Trump doesn't give them all the money they want and give them the backing, they'll fold like a cheap suit. And I think Zelensky, if you look at him, knows that. That's why he's getting ready to bail. Because if he has to count on the Europunks, he's done.
He's done. Well, he better have a helicopter waiting here. He's going to end up like Il Duce, Mussolini there in Italy, hanging by his heels in the town.
More like Ceausescu in Romania.
Yes, Ceausescu in Romania. Yeah. So I think, but what about the idiot Kellogg, General Kellogg? Trump's evidently had it pointed him to negotiate, and his proposal is NATO troops as a peacekeeping force in Ukraine. Didn't this guy do any homework about why the hell they started the whole war?
Right. Of course. He's not a stupid person. I have to believe that a lot of that is opening negotiating. Okay. That makes the Europunks in Brussels feel better. All right.
Yeah.
And that then they give on it. They're going to have to give on it. You're going to be NATO.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any NATO anywhere near Ukraine. And if they try to push it, they're going to end up losing Odessa.
They're going to lose more. That's
They're
right.
gonna they're gonna lose more. All right. Final item before we go to prediction. This is the Pope has announced that the United States is disgraceful because we want to get rid of the illegal alien invaders and build a wall. Do you know what this is a picture of?
Would that be the wall around the Vatican? Uh, you know, the guy is. I'm groping here because you see, as you can tell, I keep all these little scraps of paper here. Here it is. That communist Pope needs to listen to his predecessor. And Pope Benedict said, and he said this in 22, we are moving toward a dictatorship of relativism, which does not recognize that anything is for certain or real, and which has as its highest goal one's own ego and desires. Well, that's what this character, Francis, is basically saying.
Oh, yeah.
Your border isn't real. You should accept the desires of the illegals who want to come in and pick the pocket and rape the girls of the American people.
Absolutely preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. I think they've started rounding them up. And I guess did you see what happened in Chicago, where the mayor and the superintendent of schools announced that Homan man, he sent in a bunch of nasty the agents of his of the HHS to round up our children in our school, and they bring out the principal who says it's a terrible thing they did to our people, and I'm like, this woman is Latino. What the hell's going on here? And we're blocking them from ever coming into a school. It was a bunch of people from ICE. It turned out, it's a great interview today with Megyn Kelly and our boy Bannon, Steve Bannon. Right. Okay, Bannon had on his customary "I slept in the car" outfit last night. But they said, then it turned out that it wasn't ICE agents at all. It was Secret Service, because a student, one of the older students, had threatened a public official. And the city of Chicago said, "Oh, well, it was a misunderstanding." Bullshit. I mean, I think we're going to get this everywhere as they round up these freaks.
They're going to try. Yeah, they're going to try. And then we're going to find, and I think so far the indication is that the officials in the Trump administration aren't going to play. That, you can claim you're an elected official of mayor of Chicago, and that you're doing what the city has passed, yada, yada, yada. But if you interfere with federal law enforcement officers in the performance of their duty, you have committed a felony. And you can be arrested, and your sorry butt can be hauled off to the jurisdiction of their choice. Not in Illinois, where you get some punk black in hacking black to let you off. But let's take your butt down to Alabama, maybe, or Mississippi. And let's do it down there. What do you say? And so I think we may have a couple of those. Very possible. But it'll only take a couple. It's much like those people at USAID I talked about earlier. I guarantee you that has had the desired effect throughout the bureaucracy.
Yes.
And there will be some more who try to do it, but they're going to meet the same end. Their careers are destroyed, and they're going to be kicked to the curb because they thought they were better than the will of the voters of the United States of America and the people they elected. And the answer is no. No.
Yeah. No. And I think
spoiled children. They've never heard the word before.
Yeah. And it looks like to me that Trump is not going to back down on this.
I don't think so.
And you know some of his top aides, and your opinion is that their instructions are to tough it out, right?
Yes.
I mean, Steve Miller.
I am told that the mantra is no more Mr. Nice Guy.
All right. On that note, we're going to get to our finish here, our predictions. Let's get everybody in and do predictions. I will start. And my prediction is that Tulsi Gabbard, who I think is fantastic, is not going to be approved by the Senate because she stood up for the American people against warrantless searches and search and seizure. And I think you've got, you got McConnell, Collins, Murkowski, Young, Cornyn, and Graham. I think are going to torpedo that incredible woman. That's my prediction. Bill, what's your top prediction?
My prediction is that you are right and that Trump will find a way to put her in the slot anyway.
Good.
I think the same will apply to Robert Kennedy. I think they're setting themselves up to reject RFK, and Trump loves him. And he's brought a whole new dimension to the MAGA movement. And they're not going to give that up. They're going to keep it.
Excellent. I love it. Gary, what's your prediction?
I don't know. I was going to agree with you, but then Bill agreed with you. So I'm just going to agree with you both. I don't really have nothing else for you guys today.
That's fair enough.
That's pretty much what I think. I think they're going to try to say no to this guy, say no to that guy, and don't matter what they say. If he has to make a job, he'll make a job. They're a part of it. Right. Simple as that.
Sam, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I think given how things are going, Trump's second term is looking pretty good. So I hope the positivity just, stays the same. And I think these next few months will be good.
You're looking for a good couple months. All right.
Yeah. I'm not going to say much more, but it's so far so good.
Excellent. All right, Bill, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.
I knew it would be. Guys, thanks for joining us, folks at home. Thank you very much for once again coming to America's #1 political podcast. Let me get out of the way. Coffee with the Carter Man. Stay strong.
Take care.